Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm one of your hosts, Richmond Webb, and my co-host, Robert Wilson. And the name of our show is Gig 'em Guys with Miami Ties. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And before we get started, I'd like to ask you to like, share, and subscribe this podcast that we're doing tonight. But how you doing tonight, Robert?
Doing good, man. Just happy to be on live, and hopefully we can interact with the nice people down in Dolphin Land.
Ain't no question. And most people already know, but I'm Richmond Webb. You can follow me at Richmond Webb. You can follow Robert Wilson at Aggie Bull. Bull is his nickname, so you can call him Bull. I'm sure he ain't got no problem with that. And then also the show Starcade Media. You can follow them at Starcade Media and then /_. So make a long story short, we started this podcast a few weeks ago and had an opportunity, and the guy came up with Gig 'em Guys with Miami Ties, and we both played at Texas A&M, as you can tell probably by the intro, and then we also played together at the Miami Dolphins. So we're co-host brothers, we're Aggie brothers, and we're Dolphin brothers. So we're Texas brothers. You name it, we brothers. But a few weeks ago, I guess a couple of weeks ago, normally on Sundays I get on and we got some of the greatest fans, and I try to interact with people. And we had a tough loss against Buffalo, and just going back and forth. As a matter of fact, I think I only tweeted the first half of the game, and then I told people, hey, I want to get off and just watch the game because it was frustrating, and I think everybody was frustrated. But came back and then was talking to Robert, and even before we started the show, that was one of his things to say, hey, maybe sometime we may go live or whatever and just, do this and that. And at the time, I couldn't see the vision, but after that Buffalo game and just noticing people had a bunch of questions and just interacting, going back and forth, I went back to Robert and I said, hey, I think you're right. I think it'd be a good idea to possibly go live or whatever. So I just put a poll out there, figured out how to do that, and we just got an overwhelming positive response of, people want to do a live Q&A with us, and I was definitely excited about that. So got with Robert, Starcade Media, and we set it up, and so here we are. The next thing I'd like to say before we really get started is that we're coming more from a player's perspective, this and that. I don't have any inside information. I don't know what's going on in the organization. We have a lot of great podcasts already that covers that type of content. A lot of great people. I've listened to their shows. So we're not in competition. We're just trying to provide or fill a void where maybe you can kind of get some stuff from a player's perspective. And I think that'll add value to the overall fan experience. So that's what we're here for. Most people know if they tweet it with me or whatever, I try to find a positive no matter how bad the situation is. I love the Dolphins just like everybody else. Love my Aggies, this and that. But I will say, it was another tough loss. Yeah, we both do. And another tough loss on Sunday. But I love the effort they gave to even get back in the game, to send it to overtime. That was huge. Fans up. I just seen my man come through here. So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. But the Raiders game, that was a tough one. And then we took it on the chin. The Aggies, I don't know how many Aggies are in here, but it seemed like we get more response from Dolphin fans. But lost a tough game to Arkansas. So it's a week where, both of our teams, Robert, got to bounce back from a loss. And actually, I'll be heading down to South Florida. I'll actually be at the Coke game. They're going to do the celebration of life for Coach Don Shula. He passed away last year during COVID. And, that was a tough thing about COVID is you really couldn't go down and, participate in, paying your respects or whatever. So the Dolphins organized everything and got it ready for this weekend. So that's, I'm going to go down for that. And it'll be good to see former teammates actually be in the stadium, get the live experiences and that. So I'm definitely looking forward to going down this weekend. Okay, we got a question coming in already. So I guess we can get rid of, would you guys have a problem if you was on the team and they traded for Watson? That's a great question. I think the thing that is tough about that is you always support the guys you play with, this and that. I think the thing that becomes a distraction is when it's continually mentioned and then you think it's over and then it comes up again. It happened this offseason. The talk started about Deshaun Watson. He's a great player, this and that. The thing that's, I think, disturbing is, as far as a player like Tua, having to come in and focus and not knowing. And most of the time in situations like that, the organization is not going to tell you if they're really shopping you for a trade most of the time. I know that's been my experience. They'll say, they'll deny it, but you'll keep hearing rumors or whatever. So it's kind of tough, to know what to believe or whatever. So that's from a player's perspective. But it could be a distraction, but it seems like Tua does a great job of blocking that out and focus on what he needs to focus on. He did an excellent job of, I think, really getting in shape this past offseason. That hip injury, I think it was pretty serious, and he really busted his tail to get back last year. But normally when you come off a major injury, it takes a while for your body to respond to it, even though they say you're 100%. And I could tell the difference in him this season versus last season. So I think he's much ready to go. We just got to protect him and let him be able to show the fans and people what he can do, because I think he's a really good quarterback. But that was a great question. You got any comment on that, Robert?
Oh, yes, sir. So I'm looking at it from the point of view of, he obviously made a few mistakes. They're looking at him from the law side of things right now, the league and the law. But, man, honestly, I'm looking at this as his second chance. I'm focusing on second because till now this guy was a upstanding citizen in the NFL, on the streets, or from what we knew. So I would love for him to be able to go out there, just like Brady went to Tampa, go out to Miami, bring some of that salt in the air, man, and relax and turn him loose to play his game instead of being controlled by the offensive coordinators or whatnot. Just turn him loose. And you see what happened with Dak. Dak's coming full circle. But I'm looking at it as a second chance. So that's all I got to say about that. It's a second chance. It's first messing up. So.
Well, sometimes you don't get a second chance. I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. Deshaun Watson is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Me and Robert are here in the Houston area, and it's really turned. Even before all the allegations came out, he was asking or basically demanding to get a trade, and not necessarily, I think, to Miami. I think he just wanted to get out because I guess he wasn't sold or didn't like what was going in. Based on what I've heard, the organization, they were supposed to, I guess, include him in maybe some of the decisions or maybe some of the things they were thinking about doing. And when that didn't happen and they hired this new coach, I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And then the allegations come out. So, he definitely will get traded. I don't know if it'll be to Miami or whatever, but I think once he gets that fresh start, like you said, Robert, this is second chance, and a lot of times you don't get a second chance. So you got to make the most of it. I think he's a great guy. Just he just got caught up in some stuff that I don't really want to touch that. But yeah, hopefully he just gets a second chance and clean his act up, no matter where it is. So but that was a great question. So,
I mean, man, we got, we got killers that played in the NFL that got second chances. People riding around with 400-500 pounds of dope, second chances. So his upside, I think, as far as the team that he goes to, his upside will be well worth it.
Oh yeah, I think he can make an immediate impact, and he's a proven quarterback. His skill set, so I think that's why his value is so high. And they were asking, but now they're paying that salary, and he's not playing. So I think they're going to bring down what they were asking, because that's a huge hit on their salary cap. So since nobody's really biting, I'm sure they've lowered their offer and stuff like that. So we'll just have to wait to see.
Yes, sir. Hopefully everything works out for him, man. I'm not going to throw him to the wolves yet, and hopefully I won't have to. But I just it's just something that happened. It was bad. It wasn't. There's two sides of the street. There's two sides of every story. There's two sides of the street. So just got to let the guy go through it. We got another question coming up from Lurch Boogie. What's up, man?
Okay. Hey, Lurch, how you doing? Is the O-line for Miami really that bad, or is it the scheme and chemistry? I would say I don't know the scheme, to be honest with you, but looking at the Buffalo game, I saw a couple of plays where there was some. To me, it looked like missed assignments based on. You can almost kind of figure out, how it's going. It wasn't like nickel protection, or it was just a base protection. And the linebacker came free a couple times, and based on what I saw, to me it looked like mental errors. I don't have their playbook, but you can kind of, once you've played, you can kind of say, well, this guy should probably take this guy should that, and that's the way I did process elimination. I was like, I knew one thing. The guy, it wasn't a hot route because it didn't send enough guys for a receiver to break off his route or whatever. So I definitely believe it was a mental error. I just don't know. Was it the running back one time, or was the offensive line that missed it or whatever? But it was definitely some mental errors. But the blocking schemes normally you got a man for each to go on each hat most of the time, unless they send more than what you can blitz. So, but we have some young players that are not playing as well as they should, and they got to get the technique down and be able to hunker down and do better, because you got to fix the offensive line. Everything starts up front on your defensive line. If you're weak in those areas, it doesn't matter what side the ball is in, it's going to show up. And that's why a lot of times, the pocket is breaking down. And it's not just like one guy I saw. It was multiple guys. One guy, this guy do good on this play, and this guy screws it up over here. So when you don't have any continuity, or everybody's kind of on the same page, that makes it tough to be able to throw the football down the field. Normally, your tackles, those are guys that set back deep and run them around, and then your two guards in center, kind of stiffen up in the middle. So you make kind of like a banana. It's kind of a bow, and that way, quarterback sets up. But if they set firm, he can step up. The tackles can run him around and still throw the ball down the field. But if you get penetration up the middle and up there, it's not going to work. So I will be there this weekend. I'm gonna put an eye on it, but definitely we just gotta play better. It's just that simple.
Hey, so it's funny you say that, man, because I'm looking at the offensive line coach, and his name is Chris Forrester, and it looks like his only experience was as an offensive assistant with the 49ers. So I don't know, man. That doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound good. If he, if he'd have had offensive line experience at San Francisco,
Yeah.
maybe that's where he was. But yeah, he's the offensive line coach, and his experience was offensive line. I mean, a coach's assistant since 2020 with San Francisco 49ers. I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
so that's not much experience, and that's one thing that I was fortunate to benefit from. When me and Keith Sims came in, I had John Sandusky, which was one of the best in the league at that time, but
Mhm.
he was also um, uh, probably maybe 60 years old, so he had been coaching. He had been on Coach Shula's staff probably easy 20 years. So not only me, but he coached guys like Dwight Stevenson, Kuchenberg, some of the all-time greats. So it's different when you have that experience, because the more experience you got, you can say, okay, you've been there, done that, you made the mistakes, you correct them, and then you solidify it. Like one of the things when I came in, I think, he did a great job with me and Keith. I came from Texas A&M where we ran the option. Keith came from Iowa State. But coming to Miami where Marino was, he knew we were going to throw the football a lot more. So I really didn't do a lot of two-point stance at Texas A&M. I did some, but not a lot. But just working on that during, after minicamp, I came down in the summer and just worked techniques to get me prepared for, sometimes we throw the ball 60 times a game in Miami. That wasn't uncommon. So, and that's what we were brought there for, to protect Marino so he could continue to do what he did. So a lot of times you got to look at what's the scheme of the offense, what's going to be required, the type of quarterback you have. Like Marino was probably the greatest pocket passer you have. He wasn't real mobile. We understood that, but it didn't take him long to go through, and he would just shred defenses apart. So,
Within
I was just fortunate.
within the pocket, Dan Marino is the best.
Yeah,
Within the pocket,
ain't no question.
he'll
Yeah,
move 2 or 3 feet in the pocket and
yeah,
still throw a laser.
yeah. And I think that's the other thing. For this organization to have somebody like Marino, and he played, 18 years, I mean, we really spoiled. Like you said, you got the greatest pocket passer. You're spoiled. So it's almost like the next man up is almost not really fair because that bar is set so high that it's almost unachievable. So you got to surround the quarterback with other things to where you can still be successful, because you just don't get those type of guys every day. I mean, we've had some great quarterbacks come out throughout the draft, but you don't just get Marinos, every other year or something. Those guys don't come along like that.
And then on top of that, I can't remember the last couple of years, 5 or 6 years, where Dolphins have had a solidified running game to protect the quarterback. Where they can go play action pass and
Yeah.
draws and screens and whatnot. But I haven't seen a solid running game from them in at least the last 4 years.
Yeah, I think Ajay, before we traded him to, I think he went to Philadelphia. He was
Philly,
pretty
yep.
good, and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe I remember Ricky Williams, and then we had Ronnie Brown for a little bit. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's been
that's going
sporadic. It
the
hadn't been
90s.
consistent. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So you're exactly right. So, um, but yeah, that's a great question, and I think even interacting with fans on Twitter is, everybody keeps focusing on the offensive line, but it's not a secret. Even if you listen to, that's the talk, because everybody can see it, and once they see it, you got to get it fixed. But like you said, when you have young guys, sometimes, and I can remember at times we had two offensive line coaches, and both of them had experience. So we have a guy. I didn't know he was that young, or he was an assistant at 2020, or at the 49ers, the offensive assistant or whatever. So That may be some changes that's made in off season along with players. So yeah,
That, yeah,
that's a great, yeah. But it's definitely something definitely has to change. And I think I was on Twitter today and somebody brought up a point about I think the first 5 games are supposed to be the toughest, and then let's say the schedule gets easier after that. But I just caution people in the NFL, you got to prepare every week. It doesn't matter who it is. You can get beat on any given Sunday. And, a lot of times they'll look at previous records or whatever and say, well, this team did this, and that. Some of them you can kind of pencil in, but if you're not prepared and ready to go out and execute and mentally focused in, you can get beat on any given Sunday. So I think there's a lot of things, people say, oh, we should beat them. We should. Yeah, we should, but strange things happen in the NFL. I didn't think Los Angeles Chargers would beat Kansas City Chiefs this week. I didn't think that the Rams would beat Tampa Bay. So you got to be prepared, and every week that's the thing that I would say.
That's one of Mike Tyson saying. And it fits for the NFL. It says everybody is fine until you get hit in the mouth.
That's true. Yeah, because everybody can't take a punch. Yeah, and we've seen that, and a fight can be over like that.
Everybody has a plan until you get hit in the mouth. That's what happens to those teams.
Yeah, so
that's what happens to those teams when they roll up on that buzzsaw. Matt Stafford.
I heard I hadn't watched Matt Stafford, but I heard he's really looking good. He made the transition, but he's having a really good year so far. What I heard.
So now the defense is bought back in. So
he's with the Rams, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's where he got traded. Golf went to. Okay. Yeah. So I guess we have another question. I guess we can kind of talk about the Raiders game, but. The thing that kind of stuck out, we got behind early, but it seemed like we settled down. I guess after halftime, I don't know if they went in and made some adjustments or whatever, but I think the thing that really concerns me is we got to find a way to sustain drives. I mean, we've got one of the top defenses in the NFL, but, Robert, as you know, a defense to me is really designed to play about 60, 65 plays. Once the defense get tired, they do, a couple of 10, 12 play drives, that really wears on them. And that's when those three yards start turning to 6, 7 yard runs, or, once they get tired, they're not the same. They can't just go to the sideline and rest, because the defense mentality is everybody run to the ball regardless of if you think the guy's going to make the play. And it's you react to what you see, this and that, but once they're not designed to play, they start getting 70, 75 plays, then it's not looking good. And we still getting turnovers, this and that. Offensively, we got to play more consistently, and I think that takes pressure off the defense. And once we get up on teams, I think it'll be easier to maintain that lead. But we got to get more consistent.
And then nobody. I haven't heard any much talk about. We have a defensive head coach.
We do.
So I think all the draft picks and whatnot been going that way. Last couple of years and whatnot. So they got Tua, but other than that. I was definitely sure after they got Tua, they was gonna get the left tackle.
Yeah, well, they did draft Austin Jackson, but
they got some drafts this year though.
Yeah, they got some coming, and the thing, I think they realize where we at. I think either the offensive line will be revamped, and it'll probably be a combination of draft picks and possibly free agents. normally the good thing about free agents, those guys are normally proven players, but you tend to have to spend more money to get them. But you got to be able to protect your quarterback in order for him to get the ball down the field, and especially when you bring in guys like Fuller, you draft a guy like Jalen Waddle, you got Wilson, you got Devontae Parker. So we got weapons. You got Gesicki. You got weapons that you can get down the field with. But if you don't have time to let those plays develop and stuff like that, it doesn't matter. And that's why we got to fix the offensive line.
How are we at tight end? Are we solid? Are we above?
This is Gesicki's last year. I think this is last year's contract. So I know he wants a new contract, but we got a young kid we drafted from, I can't think his name right now, but we got a young kid we drafted from, I won't say Boston College, and I think he's fourth, fifth round pick, but he's a good blocker, and I think he's a good route runner as well. So that's somebody that could develop in the event that they can't work out things with Gesicki to where he could be the next up and coming tight end. So yeah, we just have to wait and see.
Yes, sir. Wow.
Okay. Oh,
Ron,
that's a nice pipe.
Question.
Go ahead, Robert. You can take that one. Can you put that question back up there again? Okay. Yeah.
We have 6 tight ends. Why did Miami run more 2 tight end sets to help the O-line? Something like can block and catch. Great question, and I think it needs to be asked. So I'm going to ask them, why don't they? Well, I think it's because the offense that they're building around Tua is more of a shotgun oriented, and it's not under center. So if you come in with triple tight end formations and sets, he's going to have to go under center. So that's one reason. But why they have so many on the team, I have no idea. And if, like you said, if they have 6 tight ends on the team, they do need to be helping the offensive line do some work. And that's
one of the things that I thought, and that is a great question. And speaking of 2 tight end sets, that's one of the first things I noticed game 1 when we were playing against the Patriots. It seems like Coach Belichick has went and got him 2 tight ends where you remember he had Gronkowski and Hernandez, and they were running a lot of 2 tight end set when we played them. And I can remember when Hernandez and Gronkowski, it was a nightmare matchup because most of the time when you get 2 tight ends that can run, block, and run routes like they did,
they both
it's normally too big for safety, but they're faster than a linebacker, and they just create mismatches. But I thought we would do more slide protection to answer your question. Even if we didn't do 2 tight ends, a lot of times what we would do in the past is a lot of times you could either send a receiver in motion to just chip that guy on the way out, just slow that end rusher down, or even if a running back was releasing on a route before he just kind of bumped that guy just to slow him down where the tackle could get his hands on him. I thought we would do more of that, but that would have been my solution, or slide the protection, the open guy slide either left or right, and then the guy that's left by himself, either tight end or center back over that way. That was the way you could kind of try to contain the pass rush, when you got guys struggling. But that's a great question, but maybe it's not a lot of 2 tight end in our offensive playbook. I didn't think about that, but that's probably why we don't run a bunch of because, like you said,
they're building around Tua right now. They're building around Tua.
It's more RPO, run pass option. So yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, and that's more of a true classic under center, like you said. When you got 2 tight ends up there like that, it forces the defense to declare a strong side and a weak side, but you can really go either way I remember we used to do that sometimes and run check with me's.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And wherever we thought we had the best way to have success, it was either a run to the left or right, or it could be a run to the left, or he could check to a pass. Just checking either way. But you're right, it was under center. So that is a great question. I think it's the offensive system that's been designed. They never put in a formation with two tight ends in the game at the same time. So
and that's why I come back and say, having a defensive coach, the only defensive coaches that have been successful have the ones that either are involved in offense or they go get the top guy to run the offense.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're doing as far as that's concerned, but that's definitely a red flag.
Well, we have co-offensive coordinators, so we got two guys just working together, and I guess they're on the same page. I don't know, but normally you normally have one, but I think the main sticking point, like you said, is that offense wasn't designed for Tua. It's more of not under center, run pass option, this and that, and it's kind of what he ran at Alabama, and that's probably why we're not running two tight ends. But that would help the offensive line out if you run two tight end sets. I do agree with that.
And if you look at where the offensive line coach came from, San Francisco runs a lot, 2-3 tight end. It's mostly pass. They'll run it sometimes, but they want that. They get the defense's heavy package in on 3 tights, and then there goes Kittle and those guys running routes. So, it's kind of hard.
Kittle is a beast. Yeah, he's one of the best in the league. Yeah, he's. But most of the time, and this has been my experience, the offensive line coach is, I think he has more input in the running game than the passing game. As far as designing what plays they think will work best, this and that, and then depending on what the offensive coordinator receives, they come up with that and say, okay, these are what we want to run, and then you just figure out how we need to block it. But I think the offensive line coach focuses, he has a little bit more input on the run game versus the pass game. So,
man,
that
when I came to Miami, that was something that surprised the hell out of me, man, because the way we practiced, the way he practiced, so I'm coming from a team where you go out there. I was coming from Dallas, and you go out there and offense 30 minutes, defense 30 minutes. I come to Miami, and you have days. So Wednesday was defense, Thursday was offense, which meant all of the starters on defense on Wednesday, on Thursday, pretty much had an off day. They were just down there walking through, and then the offensive players were going full bore with the scout team. So that was unbelievable to me. That's a reason why Coach Shula's teams were so prepared, because I think that did a lot towards us being focused on the job at hand and just being ready to go with your assignment.
All the questions. Yeah, we would do the installation. Normally, you get your game plan on Wednesday, do the installation, then you would have a walkthrough before lunch. We kind of walk through some of the defenses, this and that. Come in, have lunch. Then after lunch, you have a meeting. Then we go out and practice. No, we go out. We'd have a meeting after practice, but we would have lunch, go practice, and then come in for practice, watch film, this and that. But every day we did walkthroughs. It was like you had that before every practice. So it was like, okay, this is a chance. And even if you didn't do something right in the walkthrough, the coaches was all over you and make sure you got it right. So I know they don't do as much hitting, and I think they can only have maybe 11 padded practices during the whole season. Um, Now the rules have changed so much. I'm like, I think I tweeted that. I'm like, some of them I don't even know. I was like, okay, because you get stuck in what it was when you played, and I was like, okay, I got to learn
Tell you
the
what,
rule books or something.
as far as special teams goes, where I was, right now I can go find Joe Fishback or Sean Hill or Dwayne Dotson,
Yeah,
and we can cover kicks in the NFL kickoffs.
yeah.
Because they
Well,
don't.
we had
They
one of
all
the best.
depend on it.
Well, that was the thing. We had Mike Westhoff, and I think Mike Westhoff, even though he's retired, teams still call him and have him consult as far as special.
Oh
He
yeah,
was the best special teams coach in the league. I mean,
that was my
the
man.
best, and that was on Coach Shula's staff. So it's like you had all these great coaches at different positions that was coaching you up, and then you had Coach Shula that was a stickler on penalties, mental errors. You didn't want to mess up. I mean, if I messed up in the game, and I was on Joe Rose show this morning, I was like, if I messed up in the game, a penalty, jumped offside, whatever it was, or mental error, and he knew it, I would find out where he was and walk the opposite way and try not to make contact. But Coach Shula was going to come down there screaming and hollering. You just did not want to make mistakes. I mean,
Hey,
but that's why
Richmond,
yeah,
what the
oh,
hell's
you could hear
going
him. I was like, man, but that's why we had he demanded excellence. He demanded it. And then, not only that, but getting in the huddle, when Keith in the huddles, you got Marino, you got Duper, and you got Clayton. And just to see, the way that they work together, the way they would just, man, they just go shred people. And we just got in there and listened. We wouldn't, hey, whatever it was y'all need us to do, we're going to be quiet. But, that's why you need some type of veteran presence. I think that's what's missing on the offensive line a little bit too. It's when you start struggling, you need somebody to kind of rally the troops. Hey, settle down, this and that. We're going to be all right, this and that. But the group is so young that when they start struggling, I don't know if they got somebody they look to as who is the leader of the group. You know what I'm saying? Like no
now?
matter what position, everybody had a leader in the group, whether it was receivers,
Oh yeah.
running backs, offensive. Everybody had a leader, and I don't know if they have that element yet.
And man, this is you can go back and check this. This is a factual statement I'm about to make. The best teams are the teams where the best players are the hardest workers.
Uh-huh.
If that equals championship all the time.
Yeah.
The best, like when I was in Dallas, best players, Mike, Emmett, Troy, Moose, the best players, Puck, were the hardest workers.
Yeah.
Alvin Harper. The list goes on and on. So you go in there as a, possible backup, and you say, wait a minute, the best players are the hardest workers. So I got to go above and beyond my duty,
And if they say something to you, you can't do nothing but respect it, because like you're saying, they're not just taking it easy during practice and saying this is what you got to do. They're showing you every day. They're going out there putting in that type of work, that type of effort. Like you say, you see those guys, you're like, well, if this guy's doing it and he's already one of the best at his position in the league, I sure enough, you know what I'm saying? I gotta, you gotta try to match their levels. You might not have the physical attributes of talent, but you gotta be ready to work every day. And
effort.
that's what makes, like you said, championship teams. You're exactly right.
Yeah. And, congratulations to Coach Jimmy Johnson on going in the Hall of Fame. We both played for him as well. But that's what he did. He put first team was on special teams.
Yeah.
Best. I really believe every game he coached, his mindset was best 11.
Yeah. Well,
The
sometimes
best,
even in practice, the ones will go against the ones.
right. The
You know
best
what I'm
11
saying?
be on the field. You know.
Yeah.
And if you're in that, good. If you're not, you remember we was in the when he took over, he drew the house on the he drew the house he drew the house on the board, and then he was like, "Okay, here we go. This is the house. The only person that's in the house is Dan." I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Oh shit, here we go."
That was it. Yeah, everybody else was trying to get in the house. Marino was already in the house. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. Yeah. But and you know what? The other thing about Coach Johnson I remember is it was the first meeting, and he said, a lot of people come tell you, I treat everybody the same. He said, I don't do that. And he said it was a pecking order. He said, it's going to be a few guys up here. He said, but most of y'all going to be down here. So those few guys, it was very few guys that had a little leeway. Like you said, Dan was probably one this and that bit. And he told people, he said, I'll cut a third rounder. That's nothing. He said, check my track record. And that was even before he got to, Miami. So he was like, either you're going to perform and be here or I'll get rid of you. It didn't matter. He was just, you was going to buy into the system or you was going to be gone. It was, Jimmy didn't play around. Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun playing for him,
Mm-hmm.
because
he had that knowledge of the game too. That's why I said when you get a really good coach that really understands, it's not only coaching the players but different situations. I can remember times where like even you on special teams, but he would do like a fake punt, and a lot of times he would let the defense know, say, look, I'm going to do a fake punt during the game, but if it doesn't work, you got to still have the mentality to go out there and say, no matter what,
shut it down.
You still go out there and perform. But if you do the fake punt and it works, it swings the momentum sometime and it catches the other team off guard. And he did things like that all the time. That was just, really well, outstanding. So it makes a difference.
He was very, very strategic in all phases of the game, and he was hands-on in all phases of the game, whether we run or pass, punt, not punt. But man, you brought up something when you said a coach's name. So I think people need to know, I'm going to ask my own question here is how many, just talk about the coaching staff when we were there and the former players that were on our coaching staff, man. It was unbelievable.
With Shula or with Jimmy or it doesn't matter?
Oh, yeah. Well, because we had T. Nathan.
Where Tony Nathan was the running backs coach.
We had Tim Nathan. We had Mean Joe Green.
You had Mean Joe coaching the D line. You had George Hill coaching the linebackers. You had Mel Phillips coaching the secondary. A lot of these guys were former players that turned coaches.
Right. What was the receiver?
Yeah, Larry Seipel was his former Dolphin coach. Them. Gary Steele was the coordinator.
He didn't play though.
Huh?
Gary didn't.
Well, he came from University of Miami, which Jim. With Jimmy, and he was back there with Michael Irvin and all those guys. So but you had my coach, Coach Sandusky.
So that's six. That's 6 or 7 right there off the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was that, and a lot of those guys had been with Shula for over 20 years. I mean, he
Right.
found them and just kept that nucleus together.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he had success, because everybody understood their role. It was like the players, but the coaches understood their. Oliver Dottie was the defensive coordinator.
Did he play?
Carl I think he came from University of Miami too. I don't know if he played league.
Yeah, I can't see him
You remember,
playing.
you remember Carl Tassif? He was the running backs coach too. He used to do the weigh-in and stuff. The stuff. But yeah, Rich McGeorge was another one. My offensive line coach, Money Clark. It was, and then one year I actually had the opportunity to get coached by Dwight Stevenson. I think he was thinking about getting him coaching, and he came out there, and to be able to learn from somebody like that. And I can remember, we had heard about Dwight. I seen a couple of his games, but we went and actually pulled out some film of Dwight Stevenson. And when I tell you somebody, I was in awe. It could be a 4-down line and he was uncovered, and it was multiple times Dwight Stevenson would snap the ball and hit the guy over the guard before he got. I mean, this guy was so quick, and his hands and stuff was so. I mean, it was like, if you're an offensive lineman, I mean, I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, and he was only maybe 260. But I mean, he was just, I mean, you would see where he would have a guy right over him, the guards and tackle fan out, this way, and he's sitting in the middle and just, he didn't need any help. It was just like, man, this dude here he was on another level. It's just, his career got cut short because of that, the injury. But man, I'm telling you want to see some film on an offensive lineman, go pull out some stuff on Dwight Stevens. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was in awe. I was like, my goodness. So
so those, and I say that to say, those coaches were on the team. Coach Shula was brilliant for putting that staff together, because we had players like Brian Cox.
Cox.
We had Brian Cox. We had Gene Atkins. Me and Gene Atkins. We had Lewis Oliver. I mean, these guys, when they're on that football field, man, I can. All I remember is Coach Shula. When Brian Cox would go off, Brian Cox would come off, giving his story to Shula. And Shula would look up at him and he'd be like, "Get him, Joe!" And Nico Green was the only one that could talk to him. You know what I mean? So and that was really, man, something that was kind of funny to me, because the man's name is Mean Joe Green, and he's coming to talk to Brian Cox like, "Come on, Brian, man, let's just calm down." You know what I'm saying? I was like, is that Mean Joe or not? You know what I mean?
Been there, done that. So he probably was the you know what I'm saying? He was the one that knew how to counter it. Yeah, but B. Cox, once he got hard.
Brian Cox, man. I think that's why he was like, and Coach Shula, "Get him, Joe." But that was that's something I'll never forget is when Brian would go off and Shula would take off walking the other way and looking for Mean Joe Green. And that was a blessing. That was a blessing, like you said. That was a blessing for me. To be like Tony Nathan's my running back coach. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
It don't get no better than that.
Yeah. Well, I guess before we get out of here, the Aggies will play Mississippi State this week, another SEC conference game. And speaking of offensive line, we had a bunch of injuries in the offensive line, and Arkansas really took it to us this past week. So, we're looking to bounce back off a loss, but I got faith in my Aggies. This game is at College Station at home, so should be a good one. And then the Dolphins play the Colts. That's a 1:00 Eastern kickoff. Looking forward to that one. I think the Colts are 0-3. We're 1-2, but I think I'm looking for the Dolphins to get back to 500. And let's start this thing turning around. But just like to thank everyone for tuning in, listening to us, and that. Didn't get as many questions as I thought, but also like to remind you to like, share, and subscribe. And I will be looking forward to interacting. Well, I might interact a little bit during the game. I'll probably be running my mouth with some of my former teammates and stuff. Runtime said the White Hill refrigerator down 85 Bears game. Shoulder got disconnected, popped back in. Wow. And I believe that. And the fridge, I think they had him listed at maybe 320, but the fridge was
every bit
320 plus. I would say 320 plus. But to get your, that's what I'm saying, to get your shoulder, pop your shoulder out of place, get it popped back in, and block that guy one-on-one. I mean, I'm telling you, people, if you want to see something, if you can find some old film on Dwight Stevenson, number 57 for the Miami Dolphins, played in the early 80s. I think 87, 88 might have been his last year due to that injury. Oh, my goodness. Just a thing of beauty to watch. But you got any last comments, Robert, before we get out of here?
Yeah, man, I'm going to throw this out there. If anybody's wondering about the NFL injuries and how common they are right now, this is because they didn't have camp. They didn't hit in camp. Maybe once or twice, right? Nobody played preseason, right? Nobody played preseason. So now regular season is here, and so now you're telling your body, okay, it's go time. And you can't do that. So basically, as far as the NFL body is concerned, this is the preseason. So you got hamstrings. You got non-contact injuries are up. And then the other one is everybody's taking knees out because they don't know how to hit with the damn concussion protocol. You know what I'm saying? So that's causing a lot of injuries too. But the players' bodies aren't ready for the regular season right now. So if they
probably gonna take about 30. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but you're right. They don't do 2 days anymore. Like you said, they don't do many padded practices, and now with the NFL adding the game during the regular season, they took away a preseason game. So now you got 3, but you probably may have played in really 1. Because like you're right, a lot of
they do nothing to emulate the game and the game speed because you can't.
Yeah.
You know, that's the bottom line.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. That's a great point. So yeah, but other than that, thank you for listening again. We've been going about almost an hour, but thank you again, and we'll be back with another show next week. I don't know if we'll be live, but we will definitely have some more content, kind of overview the Dolphins and Aggie games, and let's go get 2 W's this week. Let's get back on the winning track. But thank you for listening in, and we will see you later.
Sir.